Miss Carla Walker, are you there? Madam Ambika Talwar, please be. All of you come on the stage. Now the session is on the true essence of education. Sai Vidya Vimuktai, which means the knowledge is that which liberates. And the speakers are Carla Walker from Spain, Madam Ambika Talwar from USA and New Delhi, and one more is Mr. Jagdish Hare, maybe there or not, from India. So now I give the mic to Ms. Carla Walker to go ahead with the session.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Right, where to start? So I was really nervous about coming to the conference. About 2 weeks ago before leaving, I had one of those moments where I thought, oh, I'm really, really nervous. Am I capable of doing this? And as soon as I arrived and felt the energy of the people here and the common mission that we're working towards, all those nerves just went away. So I just felt that again as we came in, so thank you so much. I think we can achieve so much more in education and in every field when we work together in this way. I had a problem with my PowerPoint, but I'm taking it as a sign that I don't need it and it's fine. So I only had images, so I'll just describe to you the images that would have been up on the screen, and I'm sure you can all use your imaginations. So the title of this talk that we were given is The True Essence of Education. Knowledge is that which liberates. And it absolutely does do that. Do you want me to stand up? Oh. Okay. I apologize for my paper. I just didn't want to forget anything, so I'll look down occasionally. Okay. So education, it absolutely does do that. It liberates people, it connects people, and it's the most powerful thing. I always wanted to be a teacher since I was 7 years old. Since the first moment I understood what a job was, I wanted to be a teacher. I've never looked back. I worked 7 years in the state system in England. I know I look young apparently, but yeah, 7 years I've been there. And I loved being a teacher. But what was really difficult was the constant testing that the students were under, the constant testing that the teachers were under, and the divisive and hierarchical system that's often put into place in schools. That system doesn't benefit the students, and it doesn't benefit the teachers. So absolutely we need to change the system, and we need to be looking towards countries, especially countries like Norway, northern countries that are doing wonderful things. I'm going to be talking about specific education systems today. Although I think we all agree that more creativity, more freedom, more outside play, more creativity is definitely what's needed. And stick to the title and really talk about the essence of what education is and what it can do. Okay, I'm just going to continue, and yeah, no problem, no problem. So, and knowledge. So, oh. This is for, don't worry. It's a guide, I'll watch it in a little bit. So, knowledge is that which liberates. It takes us from one state to another, which is brighter and more expansive. Knowledge takes us from feeling alone to feeling connected. I'll just speak loudly. That's fine. Okay, thank you. No, not yet, thank you. So it can take us from feeling alone to feeling connected. It can take us from feeling powerless to powerful. And it can take us from feeling very confused to feeling very clear. And I believe those are the functions of education. That's what we need to be doing for children. So what knowledge do we need to be liberated? Well, of course, the exact content varies from person to person, and it depends on the individual context of each life. The knowledge that I might need in my life as a young person will be very different to the knowledge that someone else needs in a different place. But absolutely, knowledge does liberate. So I had a very lucky childhood in that although my parents didn't have much money, I won a scholarship to an outstanding school, and it was amazing. I was there for 14 years. And in that school, I felt supported, and I felt active in a community, and I felt I belonged. In that kind of environment, I was encouraged to question, to be creative, and felt like a person, not like a number. Some of my friends in the area where I grew up, an area called Kilburn in North London, where there's a lot of poverty, went to very different schools. They felt like a number. The schools were more run down. There was less outside space. And as we grew up, I noticed a pessimism in them. I noticed a feeling that they didn't really have the potential to do that much with their lives. And it was really sad as we grew up. I kind of felt the gulf open up. And I began to question, why was it that they felt so differently about their opportunities? So after graduating from school, I then went to university. I did my undergraduate degree and then my teaching degree. I moved back to London and I started working in a school which was just 3 roads away from where I grew up. So I was literally working with the same children that I'd grown up with. In that environment, I loved it from day one. Teaching is an absolute gift, not only to the students, but to the teachers as well. And what I saw was that it wasn't just good teaching that they needed. It wasn't clear explanation, which made the biggest difference. What they really wanted from me was were those conversations at the end of the day or at break time. And they would come in my classroom and just say, "Miss, can I sit here?" And I say, "Yeah, of course you can." And I'd sit at my desk and I'd get on with my marking or planning or whatever. And they would just ask me like big questions. Like, what's the point of studying? What do you think I should do when I grow up? Do you think I have to earn loads of money? And they would ask me these really important questions, these huge questions. And I would respond and just speak to them from the heart and from my experiences. But many times I didn't have the time for those conversations. And it was really, really painful to have to say, "Listen, I'm really sorry, but I need to get on with this right now. Can you come back later?" Or to say to them, "Wow, that's a big question. I need to think about that and prepare what I'm going to say because it's really important." And so there was this huge gap in the education system. Those big questions, those meaningful questions, there was no space for those conversations. And when I found the space for those conversations, the effect was remarkable. Sometimes after a nice evening conversation, the student would come in the next day. They would come running in with self-taught information and say, "Miss, do you know what I found out?" And, "Oh, wow, it's really interesting what you said yesterday. And I was looking on the internet." And they would actually look for the information themselves. They would self-teach. They would self-motivate. And they became increasingly creative and positive. So those conversations were really important. The research, of course, backs this up. Students who feel happy, who feel secure, who have an idea about why they're in school and what they want to do, achieve much more. They achieve more academically, they're more comfortable socially. We all know this, but the research backs it up, of course. The UK government did a longitudinal study of 14,000 families over a 20-year period. So it's the biggest study that's ever been done of its type. And what they said, I'm actually going to quote to you because I think it's really powerful. They said, "Well-being, emotional well-being has far-ranging effects. As children's well-being becomes more important, demographic and other characteristics become less important. Positive outcomes are similar for all children, regardless of their gender, regardless of any special educational needs, and their parents' educational level and parents' income. So what we see is that emotional well-being actually becomes a social equalizer, as well as being powerful for each child. It actually has a huge function in society as well, which is why it's so important. So today I'd like to speak to you about 3 of those difficult emotional states which children can find themselves in, and what we can help them work towards. And the first of those states is confusion. Students, and probably most adults, hate being confused. Okay, we hate being confused about anything. When we feel confused, we often put our defenses up. We say, oh, I don't get it. No. We put up our barriers, or sometimes we just leave the situation. When we feel confused, when we feel that things are not clear and not possible for us, we shut down, and students do the same thing. I think that what students really look for, and they always used to ask me, they would say, if I do this now, and I do the next thing in 5 years, I'll have a good life, right? Like, I'll make lots of money, and I'll get married, and I'll have a house. And what they were actually looking for from me was a kind of life equation. X now, Y in 5 years, next point in 10 years, and then everything will be perfect. And I think that deep down, a lot of us have that conception of life, that we think that we start in point A, and then we have a few bumps, and then we get to point B. We think that everything will be a big mess at the beginning, and then we'll arrive at the destination, and everything will be clear and wonderful and lovely. But life doesn't work like that. We don't move from A to B. And in fact, our point Bs, our dreams and our aspirations, don't remain fixed. They change and they evolve with time. And when we arrive at point B, whatever that point B may be, a qualification, a house, getting married, we see that it's not a destination. It's just a marker, and that the road continues. Here I had a picture of a path going through a forest. And I was hoping that that image would help you to think about the fact that we're in this kind of forest. We're in this beautiful forest, lots of light coming through. We can walk along paths, but we can also take diversions. And we can also find ourselves back at the point where we started. And that's not necessarily a bad thing either. So absolutely, it's about changing that image of life moving from A to B and recognizing that it's a continuing path. There will always be challenge. There will always be difficult moments. There will always be times when we thought we were nearly there and then everything goes a bit wrong. But we shouldn't be afraid of those moments. And we have to communicate this to children, that change and challenge is